So our topic today is pure view. Sometimes it's referred to as pure vision. This is a highly traditional view, way of looking in Vajrayana. It is the intended, taken view that everybody in your community, individually, and especially the lamas in that community, are enlightened beings. That's how it would be put traditionally. And one simply maintains that view, and for the duration of one's life, that is a life commitment, a life vow in the traditional context. And it's connected to Samaya, vow taking, as well. So as you can imagine, this even that phrase, viewing others as an enlightened being, as enlightened beings, is fraught with difficulties of interpretation, understanding. Potentially it leads to odd group situations. It has been a source for much heated debate, both within traditional communities and outside of traditional communities, because it is maybe sometimes assumed, or there is some concern there that taking that view can potentially suppress or make it possible to ignore bad behavior that leads to ongoing structured group dynamics that are really actually not very enlightened. So Jared and I, over every now and then, this topic comes up and we have a discussion about it, and we've had some really quite interesting discussions about what does this really fundamental, it's so foundational in traditional Vajrayana, this pure vision, what does that, how does it function when it works well? What are the ways that it could potentially translate into a contemporary situation such that it would mitigate difficult, bad circumstances and would actually enhance community involvement? It's, of course, a very different view than one that you would find in ordinary society today. In that, you think about the political landscape and the way, the usual view that we have of others, and this touches a little bit on our discussions about skepticism. It is normal for us as individuals to regard others with at least some caution, with at least some, okay, I don't know you, but I'm open to a certain extent. But the norm in our society is not to, by default, regard everybody as an enlightened being. So, and what would that even mean? Enlightened being. What does that mean? It's a highly nebulous, awkward term, and we would not use that in evolving ground.
The definition of enlightenment, I think, is important too, because I think, as you say, it's nebulous. I think this is obvious from more of a metasystematic view, but I think in certain communities, there might be quite very precise ideas of what that means. And a lot of the part that feels the most useful, or has the most obvious failure modes, is the idea that enlightenment is perfection, that there can be nothing wrong, there no wrongdoing, nobody can fuck up if they're enlightened. Does that, one of our many degenerate views is that is not even necessarily true, even if you are in this state that inaction, or you can fuck up even while in Rigpa or whatever we're calling this state or something like that. Is that how controversial would that be? And do you think that that would drastically change the way that people acted if they
Well,
didn't have such a rigid view of enlightenment?
I think to be fair to many traditional communities, there's a lot of awareness of how things can go wrong there as well. Within sanghas, not necessarily in relation to teachers and lamas, and I think that is problematic, but there is this idea that there is a difference between spiritual accomplishment and social capability, relational capability. So relating this idea of pure pure view, pure vision to community practice, I think is actually really interesting. I mean, we wouldn't, if it weren't interestingly different, and if it didn't have some serious potential for useful, enjoyable exploration and change and transformation, then we just wouldn't bother with that. But I have been in situations in spiritual communities where knowing that people have that view and experiencing being in a really small, tight-knit group of people who I absolutely trust. I have a great deal of trust through knowing them and through understanding how they are and having seen them be kind and be thoughtful and adult and just generally good people in situations. Having the vehicle or the if you like, the holding container of that view has been really it's meant that a lot has become possible in certain situations on retreat, usually. A retreat situation where, because you've already got that ground of trust between people, there is somehow kind of openness and readiness and a coherence within the group that makes very fast, different, rapid personal growth, personal spiritual realizations possible. And without going into lots of detail, it's difficult to describe the kind of atmosphere that can give rise to, but it can be really potent, like really exciting. And I think that those situations that I've been in that have been like, utterly, utterly vibrant and happening, and that I'll never forget, that the basis of the view of pure vision did contribute to those situations significantly. So the question is, what would it mean to have pure vision in a group, in a community of practice, here, now, in our community? And how would it be manageable such that it was it was not taken into being some kind of fixed attitude that had to be? And one of the things that Jared suggested that I think is a really super excellent way of going about this is that we have projects, specifically within apprentice groups, we have projects that we work on. So each project that we have, there is an opportunity there for people working together in that project to enter into the practice of pure vision. We have a group of apprentices and one or two others working on bringing an approaching Vajrayana course into being. And we're regarding that group situation as a practice, as group practice, so that the whole experience of bringing the course into being is in itself a practice that the individuals in that group experience what the course will be bringing to others in future as well. So there's a sort of mirroring of that.
This type of way of relating in group situations can and does arise spontaneously from time to time, which is this high trust kind of environment, high trust and generosity of, instead of the assuming the worst, assuming, kind of starting from an assumption of the best. I think that I've been in situations, group situations that happens naturally. And so there's something about this that feels a bit like a kind of a scaffolding way of orienting everybody in a similar direction, so that trust is that much easier able to boot up. And then the other part is just the similar to the way that we talk about like establishing an intention before you're entering a space, whether it's formal practice or a group context. That kind of sets you off in a very specific direction that is going to, and especially if that's what you're looking for to arise in that situation. And yeah, as you were saying before, if this is fixed, it can be hard to step out of that context and see what's going wrong. And that's why I think the temporary component of this is really useful, because while the project is going, there's this highly generous disposition or view that's quite easily maintained. But the fact that you could actually reflect afterwards and have discussions, kind of like a post hoc thing, feels like it adds a lot more kind of safety into this situation too. This is one of the reasons that Charlie and I, from the beginning, have like really tortured ourselves about how to say what our roles specifically, and that often means not giving them or having contradicting ones in different contexts, and yeah, all of that is in service of making sure that it doesn't get reified in some very obvious way, so that you could relate to us as a business owner or a peer or a buddy or a teacher or whatever. But yeah, that fixedness is similar to the group context level as well, not fixing a group communal mode.
I've been fortunate enough to be part of both of the groups that you were mentioning earlier, that sort of working with this. And I feel like there is opportunity in those contexts to feel other people's kind of firm confidence that you are capable of that change, or maybe even like you don't even need that change, when you might feel like, oh no, like there's something wrong here. So I think that's interesting, and I'm curious to like keep playing with that and making it more explicit in the group, and talking about ways to weave that together, like in the apprentice meetings or other ways too.
I want to pick up on what you said just there, Derek, and this may be a little tangential. Intuitively, I feel it's really connected. I'm not quite sure how. This feeling that there is something wrong here in me, there's something wrong here, or there's something I'm not doing yet, or something not right. Everybody has that at some level, whether it's recognized or not. It's actually it's really pervasive, and an aspect of the practice of pure vision is the way that it works to come to understanding personally that there is actually nothing wrong here. That is one of the ways that it functions. So I'm really glad you said that, because you're voicing what is implicit but not seen in for many, nearly everybody practically. It's an aspect of the way that we have come to relate to circumstances. There's something not right here, something needs to be fixed. That's not to say that practically stuff doesn't need to be fixed sometimes, but internally we apply that to ourselves. And Dzogchen view actually cuts through that, and it says, no, there is nothing wrong here. And recognizing that is the practice.